You check your phone. Nobody texted you. You check it again anyway. Your thumb moves before your brain even asks permission. You didn't decide to do that. Something older than you did. You think you're living in the present. You're not. You're living inside a body built for a world that vanished 20,000 years ago, and that body never got the memo. Every choice you make today, from who you trust, to what you eat, to why you can't fall asleep at 2 a.m., is being quietly steered by instructions written for a species that no longer exists in the way it once did. You are running ancient software on a modern machine, and the glitches are the most interesting part of you. Start with fear. Not the big obvious kind, the small kind. The one that makes you glance over your shoulder in an empty parking lot. Or feel a flicker of unease when a stranger sits too close on the train. That feeling isn't random. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy has spent decades studying early human social structures, and her research points to something uncomfortable. For most of human history, being alone meant being vulnerable. Not annoyed, not bored. Vulnerable in the sense that a lone human on the savannah was a meal waiting to happen. Groups meant safety. Isolation meant death. So your nervous system learned a rule, and it learned it hard. Strangers are potential threats until proven otherwise, and being cut off from the group is an emergency. That rule still runs. It's why a single unread message from a friend can spiral into a 5-minute anxiety loop. Did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? Your brain isn't overreacting. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just applying Pleistocene logic to a Tuesday afternoon text thread. Now think about food. You felt it. That pull toward something sweet, something fatty, something you know you shouldn't eat, but eat anyway. You call it a lack of willpower. It isn't. Biologist and researcher Daniel Lieberman, who has spent years studying the evolutionary roots of human diet and exercise, points out that for nearly all of human existence, calories were scarce and unpredictable. A ripe fruit or a piece of fatty meat wasn't a treat. It was survival insurance. Your ancestors who felt intense pleasure from sugar and fat lived longer because they ate more of it when they found it and stored the energy for the lean months ahead. The ones who shrugged and walked away didn't pass on their genes as often. So here you are, standing in front of a vending machine, and your body is treating a candy bar like it might be the last calorie-dense food you see for weeks. It won't be. You will eat again in 3 hours. But your ancestor's brain, sitting inside your skull, doesn't know that. It never got updated. Here's where it gets stranger. This isn't just about instinct, it's about identity. Who you trust, who you're drawn to, who feels like your people. That sense was forged by a world of small tribes, not global societies. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens lived in bands of maybe 50 to 150 people. You knew everyone. Everyone knew you. There was no anonymity and there was no escaping your reputation. British anthropologist Robin Dunbar built an entire body of research around this number, now known as Dunbar's number, showing that the human brain has a natural ceiling for how many stable relationships it can meaningfully track. Somewhere around 150. You now live in a world with billions of people, an internet full of strangers, and a social media feed that pretends to introduce you to hundreds of new friends a year. But your brain still only has bandwidth for a tribe. That's why you feel closer to 15 people than to 15,000 followers. That's why a small circle of trusted friends still means more to you than an ocean of acquaintances, no matter how impressive your contact list looks. Your instincts never left the village. They just got dropped into a city of 8 billion people, and they're doing their best. Why does this matter? Because so much of what feels like personal failure is actually just outdated hardware trying to run modern software. You feel exhausted by constant notifications, not because you're weak, but because your brain was never built to track hundreds of micro relationships and updates a day. You feel a strange comfort scrolling past photos of people you barely know because your brain is trying to do its ancient job: monitor the tribe, track status, watch for threats. It just has way too much information to process now. Think about status too. You felt it. The tiny sting of seeing someone else's vacation photos, their promotion, their new relationship. You tell yourself you don't care. Some part of you does. Evolutionary psychologists have long pointed to the fact that in ancestral environments, relative social status wasn't just about ego, it was about access. Higher status meant better access to food, allies, and mates. Lower status could mean exclusion from the group's resources entirely. Your brain evolved to track your position in the hierarchy obsessively, because in a small tribe, falling in status could be catastrophic. Now you compare yourself not to 150 people in your village, but to millions of curated, filtered lives online. Of course, it stings more than it should. You're not weak for feeling it. You're using a status tracking system built for a tribe of farmers and foragers, and pointing it at the entire connected world. There's a deeper twist here though, and it's the one that changes how you see all of this. These instincts aren't flaws. They were for hundreds of thousands of years. Exactly right. The fear of strangers kept your ancestors alive long enough to have children. The craving for sugar and fat kept them fed through famine. The tight tribal bonds kept them protected when the world outside was genuinely dangerous. None of this was irrational. It was precision-tuned wisdom, shaped by a brutal, unforgiving world, passed down not as memory, but as instinct, buried so deep, you never had to learn it. You were born already knowing it. The twist is simply this: the world changed faster than your biology could. 10,000 years of agriculture, 200 years of industrialization, 20 years of smartphones. That is a blink of an eye compared to the hundreds of thousands of years your instincts had to calibrate themselves. Your body isn't broken. It's just old. Genuinely, deeply old, in a world that reinvents itself every few years. So what do you do with that? You start by noticing. The next time your stomach tightens because someone hasn't replied to your message, you can pause and ask, is this actual danger? Or is this a 300,000-year-old alarm going off in the wrong century? The next time you reach for something sugary at 11 p.m., even though you're not hungry, you can recognize the ancient logic behind the craving without letting it run the whole show. The next time you feel that quiet sting of comparison scrolling through your phone, you can remember that your brain was never built to compare itself to millions of strangers, and that the feeling, however real, is measuring you against an impossible invented scale. This doesn't mean ignoring your instincts. It means understanding them. Once you see the ancient machinery underneath the modern moment, you stop mistaking old alarms for present danger. You stop treating every craving as a character flaw. You start to see yourself less as someone failing to live correctly and more as an incredibly sophisticated survival machine doing exactly what it was built to do, just in an environment it was never designed for. There's something almost comforting in that. You are not a broken version of a person who should be handling modern life effortlessly. You are an ancient mind carrying forward hundreds of thousands of years of hard-won survival wisdom, trying its best to navigate a world of skyscrapers, notifications, and infinite scroll. The friction you feel between who you are and how you live isn't a personal defect. It's the oldest story in the species, playing out one more time, inside you, right now. So the next time you check your phone for no reason, or crave something sweet you don't need, or feel a strange pull toward the handful of people who feel like home in a world of billions, remember what's actually happening. Nobody texted you, but something inside you, something far older than you, is still checking anyway. And it always will be, until the day biology finally catches up to everything you've built.